Travis Wayne Goodsell. I've been doing videos, especially when Nelson, or Oakes especially, as he has given Heil Hitler's, I've exposed the church as being Nazi, white supremacists. And how they fool people into crying out against communism, but never against Nazism and fascism. I've now made the connection for every single hate group in America to the Illuminati through the inverted pentagram. I was inspired today while watching Die Hard 3. It's Christmas. It's the time for Die Hard. To do some research on Hitler's rise, and had overheard the timeline commentator talk about the Buddhist swastika being used by Hitler, but turning it, and it's a square, so you can't really invert it. It's still a square, but by turning it on its side, you invert it. And wouldn't you know it, in Buddhism, it's the symbol of the sun, an inverted star symbol. There it is, the Illuminati symbol for Hitler's Nazi Germany. Now for the church, they've kept the original, the inverted pentagram. So have the Republican Party, since Nixon's campaign buttons, they inverted the pentagram on the elephant. So Utah now, the Conservative Party, the Republican Party, the GOP, the good old boys club, have the inverted pentagram. And so, yeah, I thought it would be sarcastically amusing to put in a suggestion for the new Utah flag of merely the Salt Lake Temple with the inverted pentagrams poking out. You've seen that picture on my thumbnails quite often to remind you of who the church is. They are white supremacists. They are a hate group. And anybody, YouTube employees, supporting the church and censoring people exposing the church are likewise hate participants. It is a crime. It is a world crime from the Nuremberg trials. And the Confederate flag is what had me baffled. I couldn't, until it just now occurred to me. Because when you look straight on at the flag, they're all pointing up. But then I saw a picture while searching for Confederate flags just to see, check again. Somebody had turned each of the stars to be inverted. And I went, it's inverted, but that's not the official. Somebody purposely inverted them for their personal flag of the Confederate flag. And then it hit me. They're bands that cross follow the band on the original Confederate flag. They're inverted. So I'd already known the connection through history, but I couldn't connect the history of the symbol with every single hate group from the Illuminati. Got it now. Now that I figured out the Hitler swastika, meaning the sun, and he purposely turned it. And he knew what it meant. He knew what he was doing. He knew it meant the sun. He knew he was purposely inverting it, as well as you could do for a square, which comes from Chinese. And that's where we get the KKK, using the same thing. See, the KKK has the cross, but on the cross is a square, and the square is inverted. They're Christian, so who would be the one on the cross? Jesus. He's the sun symbol, but he's now inverted. And then there's the blood drop. In China, the Chinese character for the sun is a square with a little slash thing. It's the sun symbol. Just like the swastika. And so the KKK also would have the swastika. See how they're all tied together now? And there's more. Because I know Paleo-Hebrew, I therefore know Aramaic, etc. In Aramaic, the Yod is the symbol for Yah, who is Yahweh, or you might know him as Jesus. And he's inverted, because the blood drop is pointing down, as if it's a falling drop of blood. The Yod is the other way. In Paleo-Hebrew, it's the Zeta. Blew my mind away. So now I've connected the church to all these various hate groups. We have been taken over by Nazis, literally. We have been taken over by those descendants of the Illuminati, whose plot was to take over and destroy America. We're in it. The Book of Mormon has proven true. Joseph Smith has been proven true. The church are white supremacists, which means any of the titles of Illuminati, Scottish Rites, Freemasonry, Confederates, KKK, Nazis, conservatives, they all apply to the church, because they're all from the same group that originated. Now you're thinking, well, what about the Democrats? They're the deep state. Yeah, that's a false dichotomy to say, well, if the deep states are evil, then therefore it's okay to embrace fascism. Dear God, people are dumb. And they actually think people would believe it. And people do. That's been the trick, is to have the two parties to feed off of each other, to both claim the other as the enemy, to divide people in order to conquer. And so yes, the two main parties in America are deep state Dems and Illuminati, Nazi, Confederate, LDS Church, KKK, GOP, MAGA. So, yeah, MAGA is the only one that doesn't have a symbol corresponding to the Illuminati, other than its mark is worn on the foreheads of their followers. A mark of the beast on the forehead. So, what do we do as a people who we can't get rid of them? Our government is controlled by them. They're everywhere now. The state of Utah has fully embraced the church. What do? We are trapped. We are prisoners. We are being held hostage, and we are being tortured. Now, do you look back and see why all this has happened to us? So yeah, I can go back now and go over talks of previous presidents and see the horror, as I did that this morning, going over Ezra Taft Benson's To the Youth of the Noble Birthright. They all use psychology from psychologists, just like Hitler did. And what's even worse is just like the Danites. They flipped W.W. Phelps, threatened his life, he caved, and then he worked for them to testify against Joseph, to betray him, and then pretend to come back as his friend so that he could betray him some more. So too have I been victimized by those who are Jewish, being threatened by the church's Nazi agenda to be the ones to enslave and torture people, and myself as well. That's the real horror, is that the church is using you to be their weapon. I thought it was interesting that Hitler believed he was the Messiah. And then, before I understood what a Messiah was, anciently, as I hear most Christians all in a frenzy, oh, he thought he was Jesus. He's a false prophet. And he died, yeah. But that's Jesus himself is not real. It was created by Constantine. What used to be apocalyptic literature was turned into history. And people don't see it. They all try to create more confusion upon what Constantine did to justify Constantine as being legitimate history, a legitimate deity. They focus away from Jesus being a male and what constitutes a male being male by focusing on whether or not Mary was still a virgin after conceiving Jesus. What constitutes a male being male? Testicles. For women, it's the ovaries, the eggs. For men, it's sperm. In order to portray himself as human, he would have to have sperm. And everybody misses that part. He can't be this Trinity God and fool everybody. He has to have marriage. He has to be circumcised. They would have to see the testicles. If he doesn't have testicles, that would have been something for the record books. Because everybody in Christianity demands that Jesus cannot have kids. Because he's too superior for humans. And so you get those superhero shows that help illustrate that point. Although Superman having a kid with Lois was not received very well in Superman Returns, I don't understand why. I thought that was a great performance, especially when Lex Luthor said, "Are you sure?" But, well, we are living in a nightmare scenario, literally. The worst case scenario. Not only is the church the great and abominable church, but they are the enemy. This explains why they are racist, sexist, bigoted, neglectful of the poor, giving an outward propaganda of Jesus, family, love, and yet, like I went over with Ezra Taft Benson, it's all idol worship, which is what Lucifer loves, because idol worship twists or inverts love into hate. As you think love means adherence to obedience to idols and fear and trembling, or adoring and embracing. You put pictures of the temple and Jesus and prophets on the walls of your household, thinking that that's going to bring the Spirit, invite the Spirit. You've completely missed Mormon doctrine. And then you refuse to watch or see or hear anything that's not temple, prophets, Jesus, and that thereby you're protecting yourself. That's idol worship. You've been fooled, and you're easily gullible and susceptible to being manipulated, hypnotized, brainwashed, psychologically manipulated, whatever you want to call it. I've been doing these videos, and all I'm doing is repeating the same information in a different format. But this one was simply to tell you, I now have traced the inverted pentagram to all of the hate groups in America. Church is right there with them. So why isn't the church considered a hate group along with the KKK, along with Confederates, along with neo-Nazis? Why are they not being locked up? Why then are our government not investigating the money trail to our enemies who are attacking us and are at war with us? Why is the church getting away with everything?